Yo, what's going on, y'all? Man, we're coming back right in time for the season. We have a couple days left until kickoff. Literally a couple days, and then we'll move into the weekend onto the regular season. But football's back, man. So I just wanted to kind of catch up with y'all and try to, get things rolling again. But we'll take a look at the schedule and overall just kind of go over everything on a week by week basis. I know I got most of the teams done, actually, everyone but the Lions. I've had to touch real quick on the Lions. I think as it stands, they're kind of the off-season underdog, darling kind of team, if you will. They have a lot of good pieces. Jared Goff is a real decent quarterback. He can put up a lot of numbers. Took advantage of I guess, St. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got some good running backs with Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. I know their offensive line with Ragnow, Penei Sewell. They got another guy. I know they got Decker. And their other two guys are one's Jonah Jackson. I think they're pretty serviceable. They're not. Surprisingly, I find the Lions' offensive line being one of those lines that everybody loves. But in kind of looking at their roster and their just that offensive line, going off of what I know from those names, I feel like the Cowboys, if they can stay healthy, we just got the news today with Tyler Smith having to kind of nurse a little bit of his injuries. I think it's a hamstring, so we'll see. I think they say it's pretty mild, but as it stands right now, that's something to monitor. Which is crazy because you came into the season thinking that Terrence Steele was going to be out, and he just got his contract a couple days ago. So, So as it stands, offensive line wise, if we can stay healthy, I think you can be very competent to that Lions offensive line. Defensively, I know they got Laporta. Laporta, the tight end. Wide receiver wise, like I said, they got Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know if they have any other guys. I know it's Marvin Jones. And that's kind of the thing. Like, there's weapons, but you had those type of weapons with the Cowboys last year. I would argue that Dak's a little bit better of a quarterback than Jared Goff. I think Dak still has things to prove. So does Jared Goff. I would argue that Jared Goff has a lot more to prove, even though he's obviously been to Super Bowl. But again, that goes off of just having great teams and what building a great team can do for you as a franchise. You can have Jared Goff go to the Super Bowl. So, offensively, they get a lot of credit for their weapons. I think they get a lot of credit for the progress they've made rather than like if you stand them up and actually what they've achieved. So that's cool. Progress society is cool. I don't argue off it, but I think achievement wise, I think the Lions still have some hurdles to overcome and some things to test with a young roster. And I would say, I would almost say limited offensive weapons just because of what they have at receiver. You don't really know too much about what's your guy, Laporta. Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of an unknown, but in today's NFL, if used correctly, I think Jahmyr Gibbs could be a good little spark plug. But yeah, Josh Reynolds and Marvin Jones. So Amon-Ra St. Brown's a great receiver, but as you saw last year with CeeDee Lamb, it takes more than just a receiver. And once we lost Tony Pollard, that was it for that playoff game. But Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, Vitae. So they have a good offensive line. It's good. I would like. We're pretty comparable. I mean, especially with Martin and Martin's really your only All-Pro right now. Tyron Smith is. I still have questions as to whether you can see that All-Pro form of him. Age-wise, he's pretty young still, but he should actually be in his prime. But he's played a lot of games. He started real young, so we'll see with that. But what you got? Their defense: Aiden Hutchinson, Isaiah Buggs, Charles Harris, Aleem McNeil, Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, Cameron Sutton, Kirby Joseph, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Jerry Jacobs, Brian Branch is a backup. Yeah, defensively, I like the Lions. Aiden Hutchinson's a big piece, and they got a pretty good young linebacking core. I should probably know a little bit more about some of their other defensive linemen. But I think defensively they still have a little bit of a way to go. So I'll give the edge of our offense over their defense. I think our defense can give some problems, and they match up real well as far as the weapons are concerned. So I think that would be, depending on what we have up for stake, which I don't know. I guess in any position, whether you're 9-7 on the outskirts looking in, or if you're 13-3 trying to win a number one seed, I think you always have something to play for in those last couple weeks. But I like us over the Lions. But I want to go ahead and just start jumping into just kind of week by week now. We're getting into the games. We got some people to talk about, things to learn about. So we'll learn together. That's kind of, just my approach on it. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend to be too much of an expert right now. So we'll just learn together. And I just kind of want to break it down kind of player by player. We can unit by, not so much player by player, but just kind of unit by unit. Try to get as many days as we can to just match up, who we play. So right now we have Giants coming up. So what I wanted to look at first, I wanted to really look at their offensive line against our D-line. So just looking at the names, you have Andrew Thomas, Ben Bredeson, John Michael Schmitz, Mark Glowinski, and Evan Neal. A lot of things about Evan Neal that you kind of heard about. Let's see. Last year he was a high profile pick. I don't know if did he get picked last year or the year before. But either way, he hasn't been anything exciting from kind of from what I can understand or hear. So he's on to prove it because he was picked so high up. But we'll just kind of a wait and see with Evan Neal. But let's take a listen to some of these Giants guys.
Get NFL Sunday ticket and watch your favorite.
But again, you got Evan Neal. I'm gonna look at his bio. First round pick, 2022. So that was last year. Yeah. Pick number 7. So rookie. He wasn't anything special from what the consensus, but that's kind of a wait and see. I remember, we did pretty well against the Giants offensive line last year, and it's practically the same offensive line. I would guess. I could be wrong. So yeah, Andrew Thomas, he's on his way to be a future All-Pro. But that's their best guy. So that'd be a good matchup. Let me see.
So today we're going to go ahead and break down these position battles and kind of project.
Let's see.
That we're going to have to record shortly on how he's winning the starting job there. We didn't talk about him at all during the offseason. We were thinking about Dane Belton. We were thinking about, Bobby McCain. We were thinking about other tackle, go after a really good pass rusher and just destroy them. Watch that video. It's ridiculous. And then in the interior, you have the offensive line. You have a lot of draft picks from the Giants. Obviously, John Michael Schmitz, and he's probably locked into the center job. I think we can assume that.
That's the rookie.
Kind of moving around. We're going to talk about him, what his role might be. Josh Azudu is a draft pick from last year at UNC. Good player. A lot of upside there. Mark Lewinsky, what is his role? There's a lot of positions that are kind of up for grabs. We're going to give our best options and our best takes at projecting.
It was even left tackle. He said, no, not left tackle, and then he laughed about it. I mean, yeah, that is Andrew Thomas's job for hopefully the next 20 years. I would love to see that happen. So we know that he's not going anywhere. But over at left guard, let's see what happens. This is going to be really interesting to watch how that position shapes out because we know what the Giants want to happen. They want Joshua Azudu, third round pick rather from last year, entering his second season. They want him to elevate his game and take that starting job. But will he? Can he take it away from the veteran Ben Bredeson? That's the question here. Now, we know that Ben Bredeson was rotating in that position.
And I guess in that position, when you have situations like that, in which you never know, because everybody kind of is limited to what they know about their own roster at times. So when you talk about these two guys, Bredesen and Izidu, that's kind of a position where they're kind of fighting. So I would say that's a vulnerable spot right now. If you're this Cowboys defense, that's interior, so that's Mozzie, Osa, Hankins. Those guys can kind of take advantage of that matchup. John Michael Schmitz is a rookie center that's gonna I feel like do pretty well this year. Watching the draft guys, all the Cowboys new media, a lot of those guys were high on that type of player in the second round. Very disappointing that you let something like that get away from you. He's, I think, going to take control of that center spot. But let's continue to listen what they're.
Is really high. We got to find out what his potential is, and maybe they'll look at it as throw him into the fire and let him develop during the regular season. Now that's possible, but the argument against that would be you need some reliable players in front of Daniel Jones, some reliable players open. Ways. Do they go with the reliable veteran that has a higher floor but a lower ceiling? Or do they run with the young guy whose ceiling is really high? We got to find out what his potential is, and maybe they'll look at it as throw him into the fire and let him develop during the regular season. Now that's possible. The argument against that would be you need some reliable players in front of Daniel Jones, some reliable players opening rushing lanes.
Yeah, in the first game, you don't want to just throw a young guy in there, with our D-line.
And you need everybody on their A game in order to get Daniel Jones and this offense running properly. So again, it's going to be really interesting to see how it shapes out here. But I think the preseason is what's really going to determine what the Giants do at left guard. Because Izidu, let's say he goes in as the starter at left guard this upcoming Friday against the Detroit Lions. Maybe he goes out there, 0 sacks, 0 pressures given up, just totally dominates. Well, that's going to bode well for him as he tries to win the starting job. But then again, let's see how Ben Bredeson plays as he's been kind of moving all over the Giants' offensive line in recent weeks. They've had him taking first-team snaps at left guard, at center, at right guard. He might be their do-it-all everyman, similar to how Nick Gates was for this team for the last several seasons. If you all remember, Gates started off his NFL career as a right tackle for the Giants.
But when you rely on those type of guys that do everything, utility knife kind of guy, that's not really an all-pro kind of guy. That's just you're trying to fill in spots. You're trying to patch up holes. So I would say that's a pretty good hole, that left guard spot.
they're going to keep battling out for that starting left guard spot. And I'm pulling for Azidu. I really like him.
Yeah.
Ability.
What that looks like. I know you guys probably don't want to see what that looks like either. So, when it comes to the offensive line, you put the best 5 out there and you don't hesitate. You don't risk that, in my opinion, just in case they have to move him. Josh Azudu had experience playing left tackle at UNC, so there is the upside. But if they're like, this is not close, and Ben Bredesen just looks better, he has the experience, we trust him.
Starting job and force Joshua Azidu to play that starting left rookie out there in week 1 as a starter. But Alex, I'm sure you're again in the same boat with me here talking about John Michael Schmitz. But when you've seen all the clips of him and read all these things about him competing with Dexter Lawrence and these other guys at training camp, I'm sure that you're getting excited about the idea of John Michael Schmitz putting up week 1 as a starter.
So John Michael Schmitz, week 1 rookie starter. He's gonna be a guy. He's gonna be a guy, I think, for years to come. So. I like those second round centers, man. That's not a position that people really value. Teams really value. So when you get a guy in the second round, you're probably getting the best guy. So him and Andrew Thomas, I think that's a real good start to that offensive line. So this is definitely a different Giants offensive line.
Appreciated, and ultimately I feel as though the Giants are going to get
it
a lot
still
better because of this.
Has a way from being like a dominant offensive line, but they got good young pieces in place.
Athlete, high floor guy, really smart.
Especially if Evan Neal can come through. But I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to say about Evan Neal.
NFL comp is Ben Jones, good NFL center. That information that he's going to be able to provide Daniel Jones to the rest of the line is going to be really important.
Yeah.
Sample size here. Just what I saw from the one clip. But I think that his fundamentals are sound. He's a good player. He
smart.
Gets the game.
Fundamentally sound.
Information. He's smart. I know Bobby Johnson tried to trick him at the pro day.
Yeah.
He can't be a backup. He's got to get his ass on the field. The Giants are going to have to find ways to put him into the starting lineup. But if Joshua Azidu's playing really well, you keep him at the starter at left guard. How's Mark Lewinsky performing? Because last year, he didn't perform too well. Right?
All right. Another hole at the right guard position.
And going into year
Mark Lewinsky, Azidu, Bredesen.
Establish himself as a quality starter.
Giants don't really sound like that guard position is stable.
Doubts about that.
So,
reading through the training practice reports, Lewinsky,
as good as John Michael Smith sounds, I think just being a young guy, especially being the first game, I think the Giants could be had in that interior.
We could see a unique offensive line configuration that has a left guard Joshua Azidu, center John Michael Schmitz, and a right guard Ben Bredesen. Alex, what are your thoughts on that?
All right.
Left guard job of Lewinsky winning that right guard job and Bredesen just filling in.
So Bredesen is an old guy basically. Azidu's a young guy. One's a veteran, the other one's young and I guess talented, but not as smart as the veteran. But the veteran's probably not athletic. Then you got the Lewinsky guy, who these guys are even talking about taking the other 2 guys and putting at the right guard, where Lewinsky started last year, but apparently was real bad. And the Giants were they've been trying to repair that offensive line. It's not for a lack of trying. Y'all remember Eric Flowers, Will Hernandez. They've put in some. They've invested in that offensive line. It just, unfortunately, they've missed. But it sounds like they're hitting with Thomas and Michael Schmitz. But how that will fare for them this year? And I'd give it to Daniel Jones. He's getting better weapons. He did have a real trash offensive line for these past couple years. So I think Daniel Jones can be kind of like a Kirk Cousins. He won't ever be more than Dak. But and which one was a first round pick, other one was fourth. But I stay on the offensive line. The Giants, they're getting a little bit better, but left guard and right guard really sound like they're there for the taking.
Good. He's looking average at least offensive line.
The season's so strong. If he could pick up where he left off in the regular season, then the Giants do have a really solid offensive line interior on their
guys off the street to play for us at some points. Having a player like this that can serve as a first option behind our starters, I mean, that, in my opinion, that's the best case scenario. I don't think Glowinski's job is in danger at all. I think they actually like the way he finished that season last year, and I think they're going to try to roll with that into this campaign.
I agree with you there. I think that.
All right, so they'll probably roll with Glowinski. He's on the depth chart. He's a starter, so.
And keep in mind for what it's as well, they just like to rotate it.
Let's see if they're talking about Evan Neal.
Rotate in based on matchups. So I think that's something really interesting. Hopefully he'll be out there in week 2. In the meantime, keep a close eye on Matt Peart, who is fighting for that swing tackle job with Tyree Phillips. You guys remember? Again, just a train. 2 guys in throughout the regular season, which should be something interesting to keep an eye on. What a great breakdown. I'm proud of us, Alex. We did a great job there breaking down the interior of the Giants offensive line. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, right tackle, it's Evan Neal's job, but let's see how he recovers from concussion protocol. Hopefully he's back by the end of this week. We'd like to see him in this upcoming preseason week 1 game, but if not, hopefully he'll be out there in week 2. In the meantime, keep a close eye on Matt Peart, who is fighting for that swing tackle job with Tyree Phillips. You guys remember? Again, just a trainer point.
Evan Neal's already been in concussion protocol for the year.
Tyree Phillips was the backup last year while Matt Peart was dealing with an injury on IR for the majority of the season. Now, what we're really seeing here, we're not seeing Matt Peart fight for the starting right tackle job. We're seeing him play right tackle in order to fight for the starting swing tackle job. Because right now, that probably does belong to Tyree Phillips. So let's see how Peart plays here. This is actually a really interesting little position battle that we have going on at swing tackle, and it's being played out at right tackle with Evan Neal concussion protocol. So again, keep a close eye on that, and of course, we're going to continue to update you on that and everything else regarding the New York Giants right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. But without further ado,
cool. So they didn't give us too much about Evan Neal, not as much as I wanted. So what I'm gonna try to do is just kind of look up some basic information from the Giants offensive line last year. See if we can get something. Competition on Giants OLine. Oh, okay, here we go. Chris Sims.
My name is Spencer Russell, and
on Evan Neal.
TikTok, I'm reaching millions of families who want to teach their toddlers.
But
when a kid learns how to read, the words open, they can access the world around them in a way that only readers can.
Let's see.
We finally got to your Giants, plus 2,500 to win the NFC.
All right, the new free agent line. Air on fire and just go get the ball. He didn't have that last year, so that's where I want to say let's watch this guy play a little bit. All right, but the one I'm going to go is, and actually I could see with one of our fans at NFL Fan Matt had the same one. I'm going with Evan Neal.
Right.
Evan Neal, to me, if he becomes dominant, I just look at this O-line and just start to go, they could be a problem for people. I mean, when you just start to break down,
they could be.
They could have at center with John Michael Schmitz.
Yeah.
The left tackle has got it. I mean, he's got it in Andrew Thomas. It's official. He turned the corner, and he's, I mean, of course.
But dominant, like.
Glowinski's a great run blocking O-line.
Left guard and right guard.
So they have a chance here, and Evan Neal turns the corner and becomes what I think he can be, to where you start to go, they're going to be able to impose their will on you in the run game no matter what. Right? Because, we question the receivers. I could have wrote some of the receivers down. I know that. You know, they're kind of playing committee. They took a shot on a few guys like Paris Campbell. You know, we'll see how Jalen Hyatt works out and all that.
Yeah.
I go with
Talking about Evan Neal.
Yeah, TTJ NYG also said Jalen Hyatt. He's looking at one of those receivers.
Sure.
You mentioned one of the reasons, right? Looking for the number 1 wide receiver for Daniel Jones. Maybe he can be that guy out of
6 false starts for Evan Neal
defensive line,
last
I
year.
went with Aziz Ojulari.
Okay.
So he just played 7 games last year.
86%.
As Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams.
People think I'm a Thibodeau hater, and I get that. Yeah, I got to see a little more in the passer. They got big asses to go for days over there. Dexter, Leonard Williams, they got Ashawn Robinson now.
Right.
I mean, their asses aren't going to fit on the screen, right? But can these guys on the edge, to your point,
And Ojulari's one that,
a lot of
flying under
asses.
the radar, who could surprise
Some dudes
people
be doing
with
a
what
little
he
bit
does
too
this
much,
year.
man.
Yo, thanks for watching, homies. I appreciate
almost
it
exploited.
as always. The NFL season is
Be exploiting some of them players, man. That's all good. So I don't know. Evan Neal sounds. He sounds. I don't know. I don't think he had a great game. Let's see. Let's go back to Giants Cowboys last year, because I know Evan Neal started. I want to say he had pretty bad games. Those games. So that September game. Let's see, sacks we had. One sack. I ain't had no one sack. For real? No, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. So he had like 5. Yeah, so 5 sacks. The first game. Second game, you had Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the Giants. I was like, what? Last 2, 3. So he had 3 sacks the second game, 5 sacks the first. So no, I mean the Giants defensively, the offensive line wise, I don't know if they can really match up too well, especially what we have with you got Mozzie, Micah, you have Lawrence, we have Dante, we have Armstrong, you'll have Sam. Osa, Hankins, Gallimore might get in there a little bit. You might be blitzing some of your linebackers. You can always bring your safeties. Once in a while, you might send a corner in on a blitz. So you have a lot of players that I think for that offensive line, it's gotten better. It has gotten better. But I'm not sure. Now they did say that Glowinski's a pretty good run blocker, according to Chris Sims here. So, that's something that it goes well with your team. Daniel Jones is a pretty good runner. Saquon's a good running back. So they'll have to kind of lean on the legs of those guys. I think that can give the Cowboys trouble. They have to contain Daniel Jones. And they can't let the Giants offensive line play to their strength. You want to make them so. I think defensively, it'd be more advantageous for them to be able to be in more pass rushing situations, but it'll give you a chance to see what you got in Mozzie and how he plays with just the pass rushes around him. But overall, I think that's pretty much I don't want to give y'all too much, man. But that's kind of my breakdown today with just our defensive line versus their offensive line. I'm gonna try to go day by day. Hopefully, we can do that. But I'm gonna try to give each position just try to look over it a little bit and just kind of become familiar with their offensive line. If I can find videos and just look up just certain things about with their fan base and how their fan base feels about their defense or their offense or whatever it is. I think I'm going to go D-line versus O-line. I'm going to have linebackers going against probably linebackers and running backs, and then wide receivers and secondaries. So we'll try to cover all those things for each team. And just focus in and just looking at it. But I think matchup for matchup, I think today we'll give the Cowboys D-line the nod over their offensive line. I think we're a little bit better positioned in that way. I think also if you look at the quarterback and the running back, so I think the running back makes the offensive line a little bit better. I think the quarterback depends on the offensive line to help him out. So it's not too threatening. The running game is going to be with the offensive line, or their offensive line is going to have to lean on. We don't really have a reputation for having a strong run D, so maybe they can figure out a way to just kind of attack that and just test the D line out. You'll really get to see if you improved if they did go that angle. So our D line just has to play strong in the middle. Mozzie, Osa, Hankins, they have to play strong. I think our pass rush is gonna it's gonna be able to affect the game. I think the key for the Giants is to try not to pass. I wouldn't be dropping Daniel Jones back. I don't care what you paid him. I know they're eager to try to see what the new weapons look like, but I think their best bet is to just continue with Saquon, drop some running plays for Daniel Jones, and just kind of win possession for the game. But I like our D line versus their O line, and I like their ability to contain the pass attack and overall the run game. I'm actually more concerned about the run game again than their passing attack. Way more concerned. And it's not, like I said, it's not just because of Saquon. It's because that offensive line, I think that's where their strength is more. And then the running ability that Daniel Jones kind of gives the team. So stop Daniel Jones. Don't let him get anything cheap. You'll have to really show that you can, show up against Saquon and Eric Gray. And we'll get into these guys a little bit more. But, yeah. So that's it. We'll get to, I guess, linebackers and running backs tomorrow. And maybe fullbacks, I guess. But, Giants running backs and Cowboys linebackers. So we'll look at it tomorrow. So I'll let y'all.